Hi everyone, can you hear me? Can you hear me on Twitch? Okay, nice. So the one viewer I have right now is you. No, I only see one. Oh, on LinkedIn. Okay, then maybe I can't see the comments on LinkedIn. So let me go to the LinkedIn Live as well. Hi everyone. I don't know who's watching. It's very confusing. So if you are can you comment on LinkedIn? Is there a chat on LinkedIn Live? As you can see, this is my first time doing this. If you are on LinkedIn and if there's some kind of chat, please let me know. And let me also check if on the back end I could see who's joining Live Studio. Is this working? View event. But I do already have a few people who send me their anonymous CVs. So we're going to do the review of their CVs. And they've also sent in the jobs they want to apply to with those CVs. So in a bit, I'm going to start reviewing them. We're just going to wait a little bit for more people to join in. So the people who submitted their documents are not going to miss their segment. If you already have any job search related questions, feel free to already post them in the chat. So we're also live on YouTube and Twitch, and the handle is AnnieOfferbee, ANNIEOFFERBEE. So we're going to be seeing if there are any more comments from YouTube or Twitch as well. So let me just check if we have any comments. Okay, so it seems like on LinkedIn you might be able to comment or react to the live. So if you're a viewer from LinkedIn, do comment and let me know. Especially if you have any job search specific questions, feel free to start already putting them in the chat. So I can also share a bit about my own personal background and maybe what I can better help with. My name's Annie. I used to work as a tech recruiter here in Berlin. I worked in recruitment for about 4 years. I've hired for about 5 to 6 different companies that were mostly early stage startups, but also a few of them were slightly larger, more established companies. I've done essentially 360 recruitment. So I've hired for positions like software engineering, front end, back end, full stack, DevOps. I've hired data scientists, I've hired machine learning engineers, as well as for finance, for HR, for talent acquisition, marketing, product, sales, customer success. So basically all the key job groups that typically exist in tech companies or startups. I've probably hired for some of those positions. So if you have any questions about looking for a job and landing interviews in those positions in tech companies, that's something that I can best help with. Also, specifically, my hiring experience is mostly in Germany and in the UK. So I would say that my advice is probably best catered to people who are looking for jobs in Europe and in the UK. Because in North America, for example, in different parts of Asia, the hiring practices could be very, very different. For example, in Europe, it's very standard to wait for over a month for just one process to continue from finish, from beginning to end. Whereas in the US, things can move a lot faster. Here in Germany, for example, the typical notice period is between 2 to 3 months, whereas in the US, somebody could be switching jobs within 2 weeks. So maybe companies in the US are under more pressure to refill that position and to hire more quickly. There are also some things that are just different depending on different local legislation. So I would say my personal experience is best catered to people who are looking for jobs in Europe and the UK. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in any of the chats. So you can put them in LinkedIn, I think under the LinkedIn event. I've never done this on LinkedIn, so it's a little bit confusing. So if you're on LinkedIn, if you have a question, I think you can just comment in the event, and that should work. Or you can also watch on YouTube. You can also watch on Twitch. So on YouTube and Twitch, the handle are both any offer B, any offer B. So ANNIEOFFERBEE. Why is it offer B? Because after having worked in talent acquisition for a few years, I really felt like there was such a huge gap between how hiring decisions are made at tech companies and how job seekers actually look for a job. It felt like the way that companies hired evolved quite drastically in the past few years within tech companies, but the way that a lot of people approach job searching was still more or less the same. And there were a lot of like I've seen so many like urban legends, like urban myths, and just like random like advice online about like landing jobs, passing interviews that just did not make any sense at all to me as a recruiter. So I want to help more people. I want to actually bring the insider knowledge to the general public who are job searching, because if more people can pass interviews better and produce like better CVs, more relevant CVs, and the more people get jobs, then the easier it is for us from a hiring perspective. So it's a win-win situation, and it's a win for the economy. So why not? So that's why I wanted to really help the average job seeker, and any one of us could be losing our jobs tomorrow. And we like job searching is just such a universal experience. I think we all have to go through it, unfortunately. So I want to make this as easy as possible. And having also worked as a software product manager, so I transitioned from being a tech recruiter to working as a product manager. And having worked as a software product manager for a few years, I want to build my own software product that can better help people find jobs. So this January, I launched OfferBee. You can find it on offerbee.de. OfferBee is the world's first job search analytics and feedback platform that is built with recruiter insights. So on OfferBee, you can first use our dashboard feature to track all of your applications. And we've got a little Chrome extension that's free that you can use to, within 2 clicks, add the job description and the job details from sites like LinkedIn, Indeed, Stepstone, whatnot, onto OfferBee. And then because we also organize the dashboard into like swim lanes that reflects a typical ATS structure. So ATS is applicant tracking system. It's the typical recruitment software that we use to manage hiring processes. And typically within those software, you see all the applications by interview stages. So it makes more sense for then OfferBee to reflect that structure. Then at the same time, the more you track your job search progress, like for example, by moving a job to like the first interview stage to the hiring manager interview stage, then the more the software is going to be able to give you personalized tips, feedback, analytics, insights. Like for example, we have this, actually maybe I'll share my screen in a bit, a little bit like, trying to like manage everything on my end for the stream, but we also have like a dashboard with different charts that show the data of your application progress. So maybe let me show you an example while we wait for a few more people to join in, and then I'll start doing the CV reviews. Let me try to share my screen. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a little bit of the OfferBee feature. Let me just pull it up and add it to a stage. So here is, for example, like a demo of what you could see if you're using OfferBee to track your job search. On the dashboard page, you'll see that we've got a few like top line metrics. So you see, for example, that you've had 16 total applications. You've had one at the first interview stage, one at hiring manager stage, and one at the case study stage, and so on. So this keeps you focused on the most important numbers. Then we've also got these charts that show some data. So for example, I get a lot of people telling me like, oh, I've only got like 2 or 3 interviews. I don't have anything else going on. I'm freaking out. Is there something that I'm doing wrong? Like, I feel really disappointed, and I feel really like demotivated. But actually, it could be that your first interview conversion rate or your other interview conversion rates are actually really high compared to the market, which means with every application you send out, you're much, much, much more likely to land an interview stage. And that is really good. And that's something that you should feel really proud of. So the key thing is really to keep your interview conversion rates high, because if your interview conversion rate is really, really low, and when we say low, I would say in this market, anywhere between or anywhere below a 5% is considered low as a interview conversion rate. So how do you calculate that? Very easy. Take all the interviews that you got. Doesn't matter what's like, you count once per company. So say, oh, I've landed like interview rounds with this company A, company B, and company C. So I've got 3 interviews, and in total, I've applied to 10 jobs. 3 divided by 10, that's 30%. So you've got a 30%, roughly like 30% conversion rate, and that is quite good. I think if you say have like a I don't know, 10% conversion rate, it's still decent. And then it depends on like whether you have a leaky bucket or not. Because if you land those first interviews, but later on you're not able to like further convert them, and the average tech interview hiring process could be like 4 interview stages easily. It's very standard, right? So you want to make sure that you consistently have high interview conversion rates. On OfferBee, we also help you maintain good application habits, because the problem with these long interview processes is if one doesn't work out, and then you haven't been like applying to other jobs, or you like forgot about it, or you had to like really prepare for the interview and you couldn't do anything else, then you kind of have to start all over again. And so that adds extra time to your job search timeline. So we also want to like highlight and show that it's more ideal if you could keep up a consistent application pace. So I'm not saying obviously you need to like apply to 10, 20 jobs every day. That's also not super productive, because maybe you don't even find 10, 20 jobs that are like suitable for you that you want to apply to. So in my opinion, there's no need to like try and like put a huge emphasis on the number, but it's important to keep it consistent. We've also got a Google Calendar integration where if you integrate OfferBee with your Google Calendar, then you'll also see upcoming interviews. So this could better help you feel ready and prepared. And last but not least, we've got this like tips for you section. So this is all personalized based on your progress. It'll change. And hopefully this is something that can help you, even if you feel like you're not getting any concrete feedback, like you don't know what to do and you feel quite lost. So let's see how we're doing. And I think I will then start on the anonymous CV reviews. And if I see any questions that people pop up in the chat, then I will also start answering some job search questions. If you also want to submit your CV, then feel free to submit to hello@offerbee.de. I've got the email on the side as well, so I'll be able to see if you've just sent in your anonymized CV and you want your CV reviewed as well. And if you send your CV, it's also better if you send a couple of jobs that are like positions you really want to apply to and have the job description there as well. It's just much easier because like you could have the same CV that's really good and like fits the requirement for some jobs, and then the exact same version of the CV gets rejected by other jobs. Like this happens all the time. So every time when we talk about whether a CV is good, the question really should be, is the CV suitable for this job, or how good of a match is this CV for this job based on the job description? And also, even if like it's the exact same job title, and even if the job descriptions are quite similar, like for example, data analyst role, right? Like even if the job title is the same and description is kind of similar, if the companies are very different, then they could be looking for very different things as well. So it's really, really important to like also send in the job description and name of the company. So just like the job ad, basically, if you do send in your CV. Okay, let me take a sip of water. So we've got 6 people on LinkedIn, I think, if I read that correctly. If there are any like audio issues, connection issues, let me know as well. So because I can't see who's on the LinkedIn Live, I'm hoping that the people who sent in their anonymized CVs get to see this, but if they don't, they will be able to see the recording afterwards anyways. Let me just pull them up. So we've got a few different profiles today of people that are looking for different kinds of positions. So this is good. Let me just open them up. So share my screen. Okay, we've got the CV as well. All right. So let's check out some CVs. First, I've got this one CV that somebody sent me. They seem to be an engineer, developer. So let's take a look first on its own without looking at a job description yet and see if there's anything this person already needs to tweak or change. Okay, so first I'm gonna try to get a glimpse of their work experiences. AEM developer, January 2025, January 2026. AEM developer, I don't think I know what that is. Front-end deployment workflows, integrating to AEM. Feels like it's something quite specific. Closely with product managers, QA, content teams. Okay. Then junior full stack. Okay, full stack I'm familiar with. Junior full stack internship. Okay, no dates? Question mark? Or is it the same company? And just like 2 experiences put under one. Okay. That's fine, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe some people want to see exactly how long the internship was and how long the full-time experience was, but this is not a big problem. Like, this is not gonna make or break. Okay, Duke of Edinburgh's International Award, Deutschland, account manager. Okay, so that's a different job from developer, Porsche Center. Okay, big name, technical intern, electrical faults. Okay, different field of engineering. ETTS, don't know what that is. MEP intern. A lot of acronyms from this person. Coordinated installation HVAC system. Okay. Yeah, so engineering. Now we've got the education section, software engineering 42 Berlin. So I'm guessing this is like a boot camp of some kind. December 2023 to January 2025. Feels really long for a boot camp. I don't know. I've personally not heard of this program. Master in Artificial Intelligence. Okay. Bachelor in Mechanical Engineering. Okay, so first impressions is this person has done a few different kinds of jobs, and it's making it's making it a little bit harder for me to try and understand what kind of a profile they have. Because when we're like selecting candidates for specific positions, usually it's like we're looking for an engineer that does this, and then we'll be trying to find somebody with that kind of profile and ideally a few years of like professional experience. But obviously here we don't have the job description, so can't really say. But it feels like this is somebody who started in like a mechanical engineering kind of field with their studies, and then junior account manager like did something that's slightly different. Yeah, this I feel a bit confused by. So let me check. 2020, 2022, were they studying during this time? Maybe. Like sometimes it could be like I can imagine the case where it could be that somebody's like new in the country, they moved from a different part of the world and they're new in the country or new in this part of the world, and they just needed to like find something. But this is a freelancer position, so yeah, I'm a bit confused. Develop and manage Salesforce database. Okay, so it is somehow like a little bit technical, working with some kind of specific software, Salesforce, but yeah. Also, I've never heard of this concept called AEM developer. I don't think I've hired an AEM developer. So let me just quickly Google what that is. And this is quite normal in the hiring process. Like we sometimes just like come across new roles or new technologies that we've not hired for before. So we have to like do a bit of research and upskilling, and that's totally fine. AEM developer, Adobe Experience Manager, AEM developer masterclass. What is Adobe Experience Manager? Experience Manager. Adobe Experience Manager. Sites lets you create, manage, optimize, deliver digital experiences across channels. Okay, so it feels like it's a CRM tool for like building websites. Yeah, Adobe Experience Manager recognized as #1 content management software. Okay, so like a CRM tool. I feel like yeah, we're gonna have to see what positions this person's interested in, because I feel like this experience will be a little bit harder to translate. Like normally you want your experiences described in a way that is as close as what the position is. Like if they are very similar, if they're in different fields, then obviously that's different. And so and another thing is maybe because I've never heard of this company, Danone. Depending on what kind of companies you are applying to, they might want to look for candidates who have come from that same market or industry or field. So it might be better usually to add like a small like subheading either next to it or like in a new line underneath and say Danone is a company that blah 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 does this. Yeah, I think those are the main things that popped up to me. Whether we have to actually like recommend, like whether I would actually recommend editing suggestions depends on what kind of job we want to apply to. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Skill section, yeah. It's good to have this kind of skill section usually because especially for engineering positions, like one of the top requirements would be like familiarity with this and this and this technology and this framework and so on. So it's always good to just list them out. All right, so I do have a doc of the job descriptions links that these people have sent me, so we can like put them side to side. I don't know if I can pull up the CV at the same time, but let's take a look at the position they sent me. So this is a full stack software engineer role at Contentful. Contentful, yeah, I would say one of the more well-known and established Berlin tech companies that I've been hearing for since like before the pandemic as well. Quite well-known. Contentful is also a content management software, so maybe the AEM experience is quite relevant actually, even though I personally am not super familiar with it. So let's take a look. Contentful, like normally this first paragraph is not very useful because it just talks about what the company is and maybe sometimes like a bit of detail of which team you're going to join, which could be helpful, but like generally not like, okay, here maybe they say some things. Have experience with TypeScript, React, Node.js. Okay, in a bit they'll definitely say again as well. So good to keep that in mind. What to expect. So I think this is a pretty standard full stack role where you're going to work with product managers and other engineers. Yeah, very standard for software development. Full stack, design, develop, maintain scalable front-end, back-end features, TypeScript, React, Node.js. Yeah, they said it again. So we need to be looking for these three technologies for sure on the CV. Collaboration tools, integration implements, collaboration technologies. Okay. Holistic thinking, component systems, well considered. Okay. Analytics, informed product decisions, code reviews, insurance. Okay. So now this next section is the key where we're looking for some of the like more hard requirements that they could be using to assess whether a candidate is a good fit at the application review or the CV review section. So this is very important. However, sometimes like you'll notice that this section has like a huge amount of information and you're like, oh, what do I do? Like, do I need to like write a keyword for like every single of these requirements? Not really, not always, it depends, but normally the first 3 or 4 bullet points are the most important because typically in the requirement section, they could be mixing both kind of like hard requirements or technical skills or specific like job specific skills and soft skills, organizational skills, interpersonal personal skills. And the thing with interpersonal skills is like problem solving, like or collaboration mindset. Like you could say that you have collaboration mindset on the CV, but what does that mean exactly? It's not contextualized. And so like organizational skills are actually very hard to assess at the CV stage. So at the CV stage is more important that you show your depth of expertise and that you cover these like main requirements. And for a lot of jobs, like ideally your previous companies or products that you've worked on need to be quite similar to this new company's like industry or area. Okay, so let's look at the first 4 bullet points then. Proven experience, demonstrate experience of full stack software engineering, product development. Okay, yeah, like not very helpful to be honest, but product development environment. So ideally you should be developing a product as opposed to maybe, I don't know, like an internal tool, for example. Like that could be the differentiation. But technical proficiency, strong skills in TypeScript, React, and Node.js. Mentioned again. Interest in clean code, yeah. Enterprise architectural design patterns. This could be interesting because I think this maybe more refers to the fact that your previous. Okay, you know what? Like, I don't know enough about software engineering and I don't want to assume what I know to be architectural design patterns are what they mean here. So like, actually, let me hold that thought. Containerization and orchestration, experience with Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, another 2 like keywords that we need to see in a bit. Cloud services familiarity, cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, or GCP. Yes. Okay. Any of these 3 keywords need to show up in a bit on the CV. Anything else? Problem solver. Ideas leading to practical solutions and product growth. Okay. Excellent communication skills. The ability to work without a team environment. Yeah. Takes a bit of water. Ability to organize and prioritize competing workloads in fast-paced environment. Okay, yeah. Not much we can work with in the last few bullet points, but let's take a look at the preferred DevOps practices, CI/CD pipelines, DevOps methodologies. So maybe these keywords also need to pop up in your CV if you've had those experiences. Past project experience, previous experience working with automation engines, collaboration features. It's pretty interesting. Team workflow tools, highly appreciated but not required. So these things that are highly appreciated but not required, like Indeed, you don't have to just like stop yourself from applying if you didn't have those experiences. But sometimes it could be what makes the difference between like somebody that gets to a late interview stage versus maybe you being rejected at an early interview stage. The problem is right now the job market is so competitive in tech. And companies like Contentful are really well known. The thing is, if a company is well known, they're going to have a crazy amount of applications. I worked for a very well known startup company in Berlin, like back in, I think, 2019, 2020. They were really like hyped. And I remember for a junior data analyst position, within the first week, we received 500 applications. And we hadn't stopped the applications, so like they kept coming in over the weekend and early next week as well. And it was really a junior role that didn't have like, the hiring manager literally said like, we don't need anybody with professional work experience as long as they've shown interest. Like they could be a fresh grad or somebody who's on internships, really don't have to have like too much experience. But in the end, we really still got a lot of like really not just qualified, but often overqualified profiles. And depending on the hiring company and depending on the hiring manager, like sometimes they want to go for the candidates with more experience. So yeah, just beware. And okay, so now we've had a skim through the job description. Well, I try to walk you through like how I would read it with as much detail as possible, but obviously like when you read it yourself, maybe you don't take like 10 minutes to read a job description. I hope you don't. Just so then like you can really apply faster. But now let's go back to the CV that we received. So first we're looking for TypeScript, Node.js, React. So that I think, okay, here I see Node.js. Okay, I'll just see Node.js here. But we're also talking about like CRMs, content management platforms. And this job description was also talking about consider components and systems. I think the first two experiences might be actually quite relevant. And here it's saying like reducing manual processing and supporting large-scale content operations, develop automation workflows. So actually that does sound good. But maybe the language can match the job description language a little bit more. And also we're still looking for those tech stack keywords. So we've got Node.js, React. So these are technical roles. JavaScript. Where's the framework? JavaScript, TypeScript. Okay, we've got TypeScript. We don't have React. Do we have React? No. Okay, so this is a bit of an issue, and I would say my first editing like advice would be that you like you saw that those three words appeared 3 times, so that means it's super important. And the thing is, a lot of us people who are working as talent acquisition specialists, we are not like technical like experts. We mostly have never worked in software engineering, so maybe if I don't know, like, and someone with an engineering background sees TypeScript and they'll be like, oh no, this person will probably be able to do React. But we're going to be looking for those keywords. And I can't guarantee that like every single recruiter will see those keywords and then say, okay, if he knows TypeScript, then I'll assume that like this person knows React as well. So don't let like person making hiring decisions have to make those assumptions because they're looking for like reasons to filter people out. So really, like the most important like criteria, I should be able to scan them and see them immediately within the first half page of the CV. So what I would recommend, like if this person is able, then I would say somewhere like towards here, maybe like right underneath city, state, phone number, whatnot, like just add an additional line. It can be in slightly smaller font, but it needs to be easy to read for the eye. So really just add like move some of the technical skills up. And you can like adapt this to the job description, for example. So here, for example, you can just straight up pull some of these like backend programming, like some of these, or maybe like just have one line that's condensed that just says like technical skills, and then put like TypeScript, React, what else? Don't remember. And then yeah, they also mentioned a couple, like they mentioned Docker, right? Docker, Kubernetes, and one of those cloud technologies, like ideally that just goes in one line at the top. So then whoever's reading this, like they see this first and foremost, and then they say, oh, okay, I checked this box. So this person has this, like some experience with this. And then ideally, if those keywords show up in the bullet point, like the actual description of each experience, personally, if it was me doing the CV, I would put them in bold. Just so then when somebody's skimming through this CV really quickly, then they could see it right away instead of having to like go line by line. Because typically what happens is like when you're skimming, like you don't read every single word, right? Like you jump between words, and then you try to get through the CV relatively quickly. So I would say like maybe when we were doing like when I was doing CV reviews, like at the application stage, maybe each CV is like maximum 30 seconds. Normally within that time frame, you're already able to make a decision of whether to move this person forward or not. So really like try to make all the most important information like jump out, and don't make the person have to like sift and really look too hard. So that's one thing. Yeah, here, for example, just like Node.js, just like put that in bold. Automation workflow, also put that in bold because we're seeing those keywords. Support large-scale content operations, yeah, like put that in bold, I would say personally. Okay, what else was in the job description? Enterprise architectural design patterns. If that's something that you've done, I don't know. If that's something that you've worked on, maybe it's worth putting it in the like one of the bullet points again, especially for some of the most recent experiences to really make sure it pops. So somebody has a question. Making something bold wouldn't ruin the presentation of the CV. So the question is, who are you presenting to, right? The audience is a hiring manager or a recruiter or an HR manager that needs to go through hundreds of CVs. And that's not something that that's the only part of their job. Normally, each recruiter and hiring manager are in charge of like multiple positions at the same time. So a rule of thumb back then for us was like a recruiter at the same time would handle anywhere between like 5 to 10 roles. And imagine for each role you have 500 to 1,000 CVs you have to go through. Like there's no way. And that's only like one part of the job at the beginning of the funnel. You also have to schedule interviews. You have to conduct interviews. Like one of my friends, she works as a talent acquisition specialist. Like she was scheduled 7 hours of interviews one day. And after the interviews, you have to do notes, you have to do meetings, you have to do updates, you have to write job descriptions, you have to like give offers, you have to write offer letters sometimes, you have to like manage the contract details, all these different things. So really like realistically, you're presenting and catering to somebody who doesn't have a ton of time, who realistically is going to be making a decision within 10 to 30 seconds. So the job is not to make the CV look pretty and like beautiful in like an artistic way. The job of the CV is to present the most relevant information so that you can convince the reader in a very short amount of time, between 10 to 30 seconds, that you're like you deserve an interview for this role. So it's all about optimizing for like how do you say this in English? Like easiness of like reading the CV, if that makes sense. Especially from like a skimming perspective. So yes, I would try to put something in bold. Personally, that helps me. And there are also some fonts that are easier to read. Like actually, I think out of all the CVs that I saw that people have sent in beforehand, like this one, like this font is a little bit harder to read. So try to pick like a standard font, like I don't know the font names off the top of my head, but like the standard ones. Like don't go for crazy fonts. Like no need to go for crazy colors either. Really just keep it like black and white and simple. So it's about presenting the right information so that somebody can read it in a short amount of time and be convinced. Like that's the presentation we need to be going for, if that makes sense to this commenter. Yes, okay, let me just finish reviewing the CV. Docker and Kubernetes. So we saw Docker, but that's very far back. Yeah, that's very far down the page. So Docker needs to be up as well. Kubernetes, where's Kubernetes? Blah, blah, blah. I don't see Kubernetes. Okay, make sure your Kubernetes is on top, okay? That's another thing. What else? Yeah, cloud service. Do we have a cloud service? Do we have a cloud in the room? AWS. No cloud. Yes, cloud. Okay. Pull up one of those cloud softwares. What else? DevOps practices, CI/CD pipelines, and DevOps stuff. So I see that you collaborated with DevOps, and that's the first keyword that I saw. DevOps, CI/CD. I don't see that. Like the challenge here you see is also that like because this is a full stack engineering role, so I need to be looking for those engineering relevant things and experiences and skills first and foremost. And because I knew this is a junior account manager role that is a little bit different, like mechanical engineering, technical, like electrical engineering, I feel like those are also not super relevant, even though they're both engineering fields, but like quite different in reality. So actually, when I'm skimming through the CV looking for those key requirements, I basically just like skip this huge chunk that's on the second half of the page. Not to say you should remove it, but it's more that like, you know, you've got this software engineering training that you seem to have done for 2 years. And that's quite relevant, to be honest, because maybe there's some skills required you didn't do in your full-time job, but you did study and you want to showcase that. I think it's better for that to like show up earlier, and the skills, obviously. Like basically I'm just jumping between the developer experiences and the skills. So like those things need to like go up a bit. One thing you can do then to like make the story a little bit more coherent and really prioritize like everything software engineering related up top. Personally, I think you could try maybe moving. Yeah, the thing is, I don't know much about 42 Berlin. If it's a boot camp, which I think a lot of boot camps are like 3 to 6 months. So if it's a boot camp, you can technically add it still like chronologically on top of the Duke of Edinburgh experience, because it's kind of like professional. Oh, sorry, hit the mic. It's still kind of like professional training, if that makes sense. And like I would consider it quite relevant when assessing like these information. So that's something you could do. You could consider doing. To be honest, the mechanical engineering, like I think maybe you've gone a little bit too much in depth in these like education bits, but it's not a problem. It's just that I'm gonna have to skip through all of this to go all the way to the skill section. So it's more just like, yeah, put the important stuff up top. What else? Past project experience, previous experience working with automation engines and building collaboration features. So I think even though we didn't talk about automation, maybe, because I feel like, yeah, I don't know if you've done this for this AEM developer role. Like, I want to see if you can maybe like describe this experience so that it's a little bit closer to what the job description is looking for. Like, I don't know, it's like a site, so I don't think you worked on collaboration features. It's not like you're building a software product from scratch, but like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, if you did work on any of those features, like, really make sure to mention it. And if you did work on similar features that are phrased differently, then try to use the same wording that they're using in the job description, and then like put it in bold or something like that. So yeah, so I think for the contentful job, that's mostly it in terms of like how I would recommend some edits so that the job description is a little bit, or the CV is a little bit more like matching what the job description is looking for. But I want to heavily caveat this to like everybody that's watching as well. Like, being able to match like all the descriptions on a job description is like one thing, and that's one of the factors that will be taken into account in the decision making when we choose which candidates move forward to the interview stage. Because at the same time, it also depends on like the how large the applicant pool is. If a company receives like 10 applications versus if they receive 1,000 applications, the bar is going to be different, and the bar will change depending on how competitive their pool is, and how big their applicant pool is depends on normally how well marketed a company is. These things are strongly correlated. Like, if we talk about FANG companies like Facebook, like Meta, Google, Netflix, whatever, all of these companies are the most competitive when it comes to like jobs in tech. And so even if like you have CVs that match exactly 100% what they're looking for on the job description and some more, they could still reject you because, maybe they go through like the first 100 applications and they already found 10 people that they're ready to interview. So they say, okay, like, then we don't need the rest. And one of the 10 makes it to the final stage and gets an offer, boom, then they don't even review the remaining 9,000, whatever, 100 candidates. And this happens all the time. And this is a very important like factor that a lot of people sort of maybe underestimate. So really, like, Contentful, to be honest, I think is also quite a competitive company because they've been in Berlin for quite a while. They're quite well known, they're established. So when you apply to competitive companies, I would say one of the best ways to give yourself an edge is to ask for a referral. And you're like, oh, but I don't know anybody who works at Contentful. That's fine, because you can ask for referrals from strangers. And they are also strangers who are willing to give you a referral and say yes. And you're like, oh, but how could that be? They don't know me. Like, why would they want to give me a referral? Like, that's a big ask. So I did this thing like 2 job searches ago. So that must have been, I don't know, 2021. Don't remember. Where I actually tracked all the referral requests I sent out. And in the end, I think like majority of the people that I asked said yes to giving me a referral. And out of those, 50% of all the strangers I asked said yes to a referral. And if you get a referral, then I saw this research somewhere where your interview rate increases to 42%. So assuming like you apply to a company that has 1,000 candidates for one job, then let's say statistically your chance of getting interviewed is like 0.1%. But if you go through the referral, what that does is like normally within the hiring process, like it depends on the company. The rules will vary a little bit, but usually the case is like if you get a referral, then your application gets bumped to the top and they will review referred applications first. So like, for example, I've got 1,000 applications that I have to go through. and I've gone through like 50, and then suddenly I've got a referral, and I'll actually view the referred candidate first before I view other people. Or like another rule, sorry, bump the mic again. In the other companies, it could be that like if a candidate is referred, then they will have to interview the referred candidate. This rule is becoming a little less common now because like the job market is so competitive. There's so many people looking for jobs, so many people applying, but still. And why would those strangers refer you? Because normally the referral bonus within the company is anywhere, or like here what I see, what I've seen like in real life, and what's common in Europe, it's typically anywhere between a few €100 to up to 10,000 euros. And the most common scenario is like they'll give like 1,000, 2,000, or like upper few hundred range for referral, and that's a huge amount of money, right? Like €2,000 is a huge amount of money. And if you ask a stranger to refer you, you're giving them like a really nice chance to lend €2,000 cash. So obviously that's the major incentive. And like when I was working in talent acquisition, the problem that we had with referrals was also like most people don't like most people just don't know like a data scientist in their network, like that they already know, so that they can refer them. So referral bonuses were typically like really very few were actually paid out, and the payout ratio was very low. So if a stranger who's like fit for the job asks you for a referral, then actually like you have a much higher chance of landing this money. So I would encourage people to really try and ask strangers for referrals. So just go on LinkedIn, like, find somebody who works in a company, ideally somebody who's also active on LinkedIn, and ask them for a referral. And you don't have to say like, obviously if they're not like, if they say, sorry, I don't give referrals, that's fine. But like, if you do land a referral, then you really increase your chances by at least 42%. Let me share with you. So I'm looking for my article that I wrote on Substack, where I really like tracked all the referral requests. Where is it? Oh, you can still submit your CV. So just send it to hello@offerbeat.de. Hello@offerbeat.de. So I'm checking some emails and I see some people like sending in now. So make sure to always send in the job descriptions, please. Job descriptions also. Okay, so I'm now sharing this section of an old newsletter article that I wrote on Substack. So this was the job search I did in 2021. And these were all the people that I asked for a referral from, all 18 of them. 8 were complete strangers, didn't know them at all, just found them on LinkedIn, and maybe their like job area was a bit closer to like the position I was applying to. And majority of these people I don't speak to on a daily basis, right? Like somebody that I went to university with, I probably didn't speak to them like very frequently. But as you could see, 13 out of the 18 were able to give a referral. Only issue is like some people gave a referral too late, like they referred and then the job was already down. So that could happen, that's totally fine, but just maybe like keep in mind that referrals can take a bit of time as well. So all in all, I think for this CV, it'll be good to just really emphasize on key requirements and make sure you get a referral for Contentful, because it is going to be one of those like quite competitive companies that probably will have like easily 1,000 candidates for their full stack position that is not a senior one. So whoever submitted this, I hope that makes sense. If you have further questions, put it in the chat or put it in the comments on LinkedIn, or email me again and we can chat later on. So let me just mute myself and get some water. All right. So the CV review train continues, and now let's look at this CV. So First, let's look at it on its own without looking at a job description specifically. So let's do this together. First, we've got some overview. Versatile, motivated senior finance professional, over 17 years of experience. Okay, very, very, very experienced candidate. Takes ownership, initiative of skills. Okay, might be more relevant once we start looking at specific requirements. Experience, 24 to 25, senior finance business partner. Providing challenge financial influence to internal funded programs. Supporting driving adoption, adaptation, new central government development. Okay. Working with the government, that's like probably a pretty important job. Dues under recovery within the organization can quarterly new review multiple stakeholders. Okay. Cool. One before that, senior finance business partner, maybe at a different organization then. 21 to 24, robust financial management, cost control, 350 million pounds annual budget. That's a really good number. Like really, really good. It shows the scale of the work that you worked on, because you, like as a finance person, you could have maybe worked in like a very, very small organization where the work is maybe not like super challenging or not challenging on the same like scale. And then some companies who especially are on the like much larger side, they do want to see proof that you've like taken on challenges of a similar scale. So this number really good to look at. With support to business planning, cycle, impact balance sheet, detailed reviews, data granular level, identify trends, relationships, accrual, 4, allow the audit via gained assurance for organization-wide accrual, 4, 2, allowed. Is this a typo or I don't really understand, but this is also a small issue. Like if to be honest, I'm not super bothered by like minor grammar issues, especially because a lot of people who work in talent acquisition don't speak English as their native language, like me, and they might not even catch it. Like, to be honest, I think like some of the advice online that's like, make sure you have 0 typos, like, and 0 grammar errors, like, I've actually seen the opposite advice pop up more and more, where, because we're getting so many AI generated applications, is really, really, really crazy. Like with a lot of the AI generated like documents, so obvious, and it's a really bad signal. Like obviously, like if you choose to use AI because maybe English is not your like first language, and you just really want to express yourself very well, and like, you know, writing is not your strong suit, and that's totally fine. Like use it to assist in writing. Like, yeah, okay, if you choose to do that, it's not a problem. But a lot of people take AI outputs like without a second pair of eyes, without looking at it, without like editing it and adding like maybe sometimes even like personal edits to it, and becomes really obvious, and it comes across as like, frankly, it comes across to the company as cheating, which is why it's not good. The company's trying to, you know, allocate a significant amount of their headcount budget to payroll budget to hiring someone to do an important job. Like they really want to build that trust in the process. So using like purely AI outputs really takes out that trust. But yeah, allow the audit via accounting paper and supporting calculations, successfully steer change. Okay. Senior management accounting 2016, 2021. Nice. Okay. Also, once again, big numbers. Really nice to see. Really good. Yeah, super experienced candidate. Like clearly, this is somebody who's got like years of experience. Like really senior. Like 17 years. So yeah. I don't have any questions on the CV itself. I think all the previous experiences were very clear. Without knowing what the specific requirements are of a job or the context of a company, I don't think this person needs to really change much. I think it's like fine, very effective. So now let's look at one of the, let me just like find my document. So let's take a look at one of the roles. They've also sent me, and let's assess it together. Let me make it just a bit bigger, share this tab. So this person wanted to know whether we could, I could give some CV like advice to this position, senior finance business partner. And I think, actually, wait, let me double check the email, because I think this person said that they were rejected from the role, even though they felt like they were meeting all the requirements. So maybe something is off, or maybe there's something else. Let me just double check that email. Meanwhile, you can still send in your CVs to hello@offerbee.de. And I've got my email up on the side as well. And if you have like other specific like job search questions, don't hesitate to put it in the chat, put it in the comments on LinkedIn, or like email me via hello@offerbee.de. Okay, so this person sent me two job descriptions. One of them is one that they would like to apply for, which is this one, Senior Finance Business Partner. Okay, so let's look at it together. For the job purpose, execute a high-performance finance business partnering value to the business. CE countries, Central European countries, Central Eastern European countries, I think, CE. Assure compliance, legal, financial requirements, local finance area. Duties, responsibilities, finance business partnering, support and challenge key stakeholders of country organizations to achieve financial objectives. Influence decision-making process, local management team. Challenge of value and cost drivers. I think we read this. Understand demands of key stakeholders. Deliver optimal service based on strong understanding of different business models. Monitor financial performance. Contribute to reach budget targets in sales and EBIT margin. Develop business cases in close cooperation with commercial area. Support with the right tools for all the cases. Personnel cost controlling. Monitor supply integrity. Okay, don't really understand this, but maybe something specific in the field. Okay, so that's 60% finance, business partnering. 30% management reporting, planning, and analysis. Drive and steer budget planning, forecast process, monthly, quarterly, annual reporting, including analysis, commas, ad hoc analysis. I think like this person had ad hoc analysis as well. Ensure control of local individual department budgets, appropriate reporting. Okay. 10% local finance activities, compliance with accounting manager, CE, European Accounting Center, Global Finance Department. Assure year-end closing IFRS, local GAAP, support analyzing optimization. Okay, cool. So now on to the qualifications. Master university degree, finance business. Okay, yes, I think they had this already. At least 5 years in finance. Yes, definitely got this. 2 years as finance business partner. Yes. Job experience, international setting, ideally from pharmaceutical industry. Okay, I think this is gonna be quite important. Skills and competencies, experience and skills to work in interact international setting. Yeah, once again, the word international comes up. Self-contained, goal-oriented work, high willingness to perform, very good communication, presentation skills, high customer orientation, excellent English. Yeah, okay. Knowledge, expertise, planning, reporting tools, SAP or similar ERP system, willingness for regular travel. Okay. We don't have the information about the company or the industry, but we did get a hint. Like I think they said it's ideal if somebody had experience in pharmaceutical industry. So we don't know which companies this person's worked at, so it's a bit like hard to assess that. But you should know then, based on job description, if you worked in pharmaceutical, then ideally really like highlight that. So this job description is a little bit different from the other one because the about the job section is actually very extensive, and like really the split even is super clear, 60%, 30%, 10%. All the different like common activities are listed out. Like this is quite rare, to be honest, I think, or at least for like a tech context. So it's helpful because they're giving us more information that we could work with. So then let's go back to the CV that was submitted. I'm going to share the tab. Okay, first, this person's got like more than 5 years of senior finance business partnering experience, so that's really good. That's definitely a plus. Education, yeah, BA, check. What else was mentioned? Like, let's look at the finance business partnering side, decision-making process. In an international context, and maybe because they mentioned like um, this person's going to be supporting Central and Eastern European countries, and specifically listed out like some regions this person might work with, and also mentioned at least twice later on working in an international setting somewhere else, right? Like they mentioned like don't remember where it was, like, so I think that actually it would be maybe one of the things that the hiring team is going to be looking for is experience working in international teams, and ideally experience working in the Central and Eastern European countries, or like in those contexts. And like in the end, if you meet everything else, and if there's somebody else that meets everything else, but they're more familiar with this with the CEE context, then maybe that person's more likely to be picked for the job, if that makes sense. So that's something we need to be aware of. So here we don't have much information of whether this person worked on international projects. Like I'm only guessing because here we've got like some project values in pounds, UK pounds, and some in euros. So it does seem like this person has some international experience, and then maybe if they were to apply to this job, they could make it a little bit more explicit, really highlighting, like, for example, working in UK or working in the UK with international context where you have to deal with like local European departments, and maybe really list out those countries as well. What else? Influence decision making. Challenge value cost drivers, monitor financial performance. Here we've got like providing challenge financial influence, yeah, external, internal, within the organization. Reduce under recovery, financial modeling, improving to the cost model, quality review, monthly reporting presentation, robust financial management, cost control, business planning cycle, impact to balance sheet. I think maybe, to be honest, I think this person is hitting quite a lot of the key points, and really like if you have 17 years of experience in finance, and specifically you've worked for so many years in finance business partnering, and you've worked at organizations with such big budgets, like really I think you are probably fit for the job. Maybe like a minor improvement, and this might not make or break the decision, but minor improvement, maybe you could like cater to the wording, like maybe you could just reflect the wording of how they're saying certain things, like challenge value and cost drivers. I don't know, maybe like I think you said like providing challenge, maybe you could just specifically say providing challenge to blah blah and cost drivers. And as I said, it's a minor edit, so I don't know like how much it's going to factor into their decision making. Usually this depends on whether like how experienced the person reviewing the CV is, whether it's recruiter, HR person, or hiring manager, like how experienced they are in hiring for this specific like job and the area, because that like makes a big difference as to like how well they understand all these specific activities in those job areas. Like for example, I've only hired for finance once, and it was within a very small company context, so my candidates didn't really have to do all of this. But if you're like, if the person reviewing your application and CV is like really, really experienced with finance hiring, they've hired like finance people for years, maybe you don't have to do so much of the keyword matching because they wouldn't be using that methodology. Whereas, like, if somebody is quite new to hiring a finance person, then what they're going to do is they're going to ask the hiring manager, hey, what are we looking for in our applications and our CVs? And the hiring manager is going to say, oh, like, look for, people who have done X, Y, and Z. And oftentimes that just comes from the job description. So yeah, like, I think this is a minor improvement. Really, if you want to make it even better, try to match the specific wording and how they phrase the things on the CV, on the job description, sorry. So we've got a comment. Hey, this is really cool. Can I still send in my resume for review? I'm a student, kind of really need. Yes, you can still send it. I'm gonna stream for another maybe like 50 minutes. So send in your CV, send in your resume. You can send it to hello@offerbee.de. I've got my email and I've got a few more that I need to review that people have sent in. So yeah, send in your resume, but also send in the jobs you want to apply to and the job description link. Because as you can see here, we need to like really compare on a case-by-case basis. For the same jobs, different companies could be looking for very different things. So send in a couple of job descriptions and we take one as an example. Also, just want to caveat, I used to work in talent acquisition for mostly tech companies here in Europe and the UK. So if you're coming from like other parts of the world and if you're looking for a job in other parts of the world and in specific industries, my advice might not always be super relevant, but I'm hoping to give you the perspective of a talent acquisition person. So coming back to the CV, so this job description mentioned like a couple times understanding demands of key stakeholders. I think you mentioned quite a bit of like your stakeholder experience, so that's really good. Understanding different business models, monitoring finance performance, contribute to reach budget targets and sales and EBIT margin. I don't know if you mentioned like your work on reaching budget targets in sales and EBIT margin, but if you did, like, really try to put in those keywords. Develop business cases in close cooperation with commercial areas, support with the right tools, follow up the cases, personnel cost controlling, identify relationships. Budget planning, forecasting processes. I think I saw that somewhere. Budgeting and forecasting. Monthly finance meetings. Budgeting and forecasting. Don't think I saw that here. Obviously, like, this is a huge job description, so I don't think you need to hit every single keyword, but it's good to like, it's just a minor point to cover as much as possible. Monthly, quarterly, annually reporting, analysis and comments, ad hoc analysis. I think we saw that somewhere. Ad hoc, yeah. What else was mentioned? Year-end closing IFRS local GAAP. I think I'm pretty sure I saw FRS, yes. Okay, this is mentioned. This is also quite far down, so maybe IFRS. Okay, yep, it's up here, so we're good. Financial planning, cost control. Yeah, okay. A few of these keywords are hit here as well, so I think that's good. What else? GAAP. Local GAAP. So maybe if you've done that, it could be put in like a more prominent position. I don't see it here. I don't know if it's like already covered by some of these things that you've said, but I think it's better to just like make sure that word shows up. Otherwise, I think, to be honest, this CV is quite solid. Like, really comes down to this person having so many years of experience, and like the jobs are like very, very, very like relevant to the position we're looking at. We don't know if we don't know if this person already works in pharmaceuticals, so I can't really speak for that. And what else? Like this person really, I think, covered already a lot of what's looking for, like what the job description is looking for. So I think there's no major issues with the CV. Only thing is maybe like this aspect of like wanting someone who's worked in an international setup and specifically like Central Eastern European regions and local finance standards. I think this one might be something that they're looking for, but depending on how many candidates they get, like maybe they have a small candidate pool. I don't know. If they have a small pool, then maybe it's not so strict. Like they'll consider it. But if you did have experience working with international teams, markets, or like different regions in general, like really make sure to mention that here as well. Other than that, I think your CV is solid. It is still possible, like I'll always caveat this, that you use the CV, you apply to the job and you get rejected. Like this will happen because whether the CV is a good fit is only one of the many decision-making factors. Another one is like how big the candidate pool is and how competitive it is. What also matters, forgot to mention, but like kind of a little bit covered, is how early you apply as well makes a huge difference because, as mentioned, majority of the jobs, unless explicitly stated otherwise, will have an open-ended like period where the position is open. So let's say I put up the job ad like March 1st, and then I just like wait for applications to come in. Then a few days later, I start reviewing it on a rolling basis, which means I review as the applications come in. So that's the most common like model. And then there's another way, which I think some like government organizations are more like, or like NGOs are more likely to do this rather than private companies because they're trying to be a bit more fair, where they'll say like, we post this position on March 1st, but application deadline is March 15th, and then we'll review everybody after March 15th. So this is more fair because they kind of have a way to say like, yeah, we're trying to review like every single application. Whereas in the first model, on a rolling basis, like it's possible that like, if they have, let's say, 200 applications, then in the software, it doesn't matter what format it's like displayed in the ATS software. Typically it's just like, you go through applications one after the other. Oftentimes it's on like a first come, don't know how to describe, but basically the people who applied first, their applications will show up first, and then we go from like top to bottom, for example. Like people who applied first, people who applied like later, and people who applied in the end. Like you just go through applications like that on a rolling basis. And the problem is like sometimes they go through the first, let's say, 50% of applications and they already find like 10, 20 people they want to interview. And because like our capacity is very limited when it comes to hiring, we can't like interview everybody. Normally 10 to 20 is more than enough to make a hire. So that's the problem. Like we can only interview 10 to 20 candidates at any given time. This might be a bit different for like a super big company with like a lot of capacity. Plus, if they're hiring for like a role where they need to hire multiple headcounts, maybe they do like an assessment center, though, so then they can interview a lot of people at once. But normally, like we just invite 10 to 20 people to the interview stage. So the problem is if you apply too late, if you end up in the second half of the pile, for example, like the job was posted March 1st, you only applied March 15th. By then already, let's say, I don't know, 300 candidates have already applied. So they're going to go through the first 300 candidates. And the more junior the job is, like the more people that will be able to fit the bill, then the easier they will be in finding like 10 to 20 people to interview within the first like batch. So it's really, really important to apply early. Ideally apply within the first 1 or 2 days. If you apply within the first week, I think that's still fine. And know that they're not going to probably post new openings on the weekends here in Europe anyways. Like, so realistically, you're going to have jobs posted Monday to Friday, and try to apply to the job within the first week, ideally. If a job has been posted for more than 2 weeks, I think you really just have to keep in mind that your chances will significantly reduce, because they probably already started to interview like 10 to 20 people, and they might still keep the like position open and job listing open, and that's still fine, and then they just already like fill up all the spots. So hope this is helpful to whoever submitted this one. If you have further questions, you have my email. Reach out at hello at offerbee.de, or add me on LinkedIn, ask more questions. But I wish you luck. I think you really come with a lot of experience, so I think you'll land a role. So yeah, let me know. Then I have another submission that I already saved beforehand. Is it this one? Yes, it's this one. Let me take a sip of water while we take a quick look. All right. So I think what's really good is today we have a few more submissions. I'm gonna go through my emails. I saw the notification, so like people who submitted today, don't worry. But we've got a few very different profiles that are from different fields and professions. I think that's really good. It's a good like few different like case studies on different positions and what companies might be looking for and what kind of like job descriptions there might be. So this one, we've got somebody who is a senior product manager. Excuse me, drank too fast. Senior product manager with 5+ years owning end-to-end delivery, digital banking, ad tech products. Sorry. From vision and roadmap to launch and iteration, now deepening expertise, product engineering, AI to build experimentation-driven insight-led products, keyword highlights. So I find this, like, first thing is I find this like formatting very hard to read because as you can tell, compared to the first two, this one has a lot more like spacing. And this could be because this person wanted to like anonymize their CV. So they just like copy pasted the text and like put it on a new doc. So I'm not gonna focus too much on the formatting of this one. But I feel like the paragraph breaks and the line height maybe are like the line height, is that what you call it? Maybe a bit too big because it feels like you're not able to put as much information in the first page. And as you know, we're going to be skimming this and making a decision within 10 to 30 seconds, like most likely even 10 to 20 seconds. So yeah, I find this like format a little bit hard to read. Okay, what do they work on? Career break, full-time study, Berlin, okay. Pursuing bachelor's and master's, computer science, 2023 to present. So student, hands-on AI-driven product development. Founder, Fierce Run Force. First women's running club, that's really cool. Psycho-oriented training, that's really, really cool. I really like that. Might not be relevant for the job, but I really like that. Facebook products and service operations, Concentrix. Okay, cool. Quality analyst and coach. Okay. Which one is the job title? Or maybe this one's the team. And this one's the job title, I guess. But I'm a little bit confused because normally you have like job title. Yeah, like I'm a little bit confused by the information hierarchy here. If it's team, then I would say because job title is more important and put team. I would put team like, so I would write quality analyst and coach, comma, Facebook product service and operations, comma, company name, Concentrix. Yeah, a little bit confused here. And it's quite important. Like job title, really, really important. Like one of the most like first things and most important things to look at. Scale the team, blah, blah. Really cool. Some like key stats. First impression is I feel like this person is not sharing enough. Like, because you see how the first two CVs that we looked at, each experience has like multiple, like 3 to 4 bullet points at least, if not 4 to 5 in the case where like the candidate is more senior. Here, 1 bullet point per experience, that's really like too little to look at. It's giving the impression that you've not done enough or you've not done any interesting or relevant things to mention. So it's not a good sign. I'm gonna pull up an example of a CV that would work a little bit better in terms of like how much information to put on there. So let me just pull it up. What's this person's name? So I follow a content creator on LinkedIn called Jonathan Javier. He is a Forbes 30 under 30 founder, and he works in a company called Onsulting. So he gave like a really good example on LinkedIn. So let me share my screen. I hope you can see the information. Don't know how I can zoom. Okay. I'm gonna post the link in the comments in a bit, but like you see how in this example of the CV, each work experience has at least like 3 bullet points. And if you can see, each bullet point is also more like elaborate, and they really make sure to include like key achievements, key accomplishments that are easily like quantifiable. Like here there's like a further breakdown. I didn't actually read what all the different colors mean, but it's good to use this as a reference to really just try and provide more information and not like give not enough information, if that makes sense. Let's come back to the position, or sorry, let's come back to the CV. So yeah, really try to have like 2 to 3 bullet points. If it's a less relevant work experience, then 2 bullet points, but really try to like, I would say have 3 bullet points. Because like you could think of it this way, like you have like 1 or 2 bullet points that are like the key accomplishments, or like 1 or 2 areas that you work in, and then another bullet point could be another area, or it could be like, you know, not everything's an accomplishment, you just did a really solid job at what you do. So you maybe like 1 bullet point you mention like core areas that you worked on, core projects, and another one is like key accomplishments, and another one is like what kind of organizational skills, interpersonal skills you showed. Like for example, like you manage stakeholder, how many stakeholders you manage, how many different teams you're able to work with, or like how else maybe you could illustrate some of those interpersonal skills. Let's take a look more. Product manager, ad cash. This is pretty cool. I think you notice that this is somebody who is a senior product manager, but this is the first product manager role that we're seeing only after scrolling to the second half of the page. So without knowing what jobs this person wants to apply yet, but I feel like this is gonna be a bit, because like this from the job description, or like from the job title and from the description, it looks like this might be one of the most relevant job experiences, but it comes up a bit later. So just to keep that in mind, and then we can look at a job description in a bit. Head of IT, introduce Scrum. That's great, really nice. Like cross-functional IT initiatives. And then product manager experience at this bank. Led development WinBank, blah, blah, blah. This is really good, really cool, really, really relevant experiences. I would say these are probably going to be the most relevant experiences here. Skills, education, good. So yeah, that's the skim of the CV. And I think somebody on LinkedIn left a comment. Let's take a look. I like to recommend to candidates to summarize their sections and put the most relevant ones up in the first sections, depending on the roles they're applying to. What do you think? I agree. Like, honestly, I think we can see from this example already a little bit that like they're trying to position themselves as a senior product manager with 5 years of experience, but only when I'm scrolling to the second half of the page, I see some relevant product manager experiences. So it's going to be a little bit like of a tricky thing. Let's see in a bit how we can maybe manage this, because I think one concern that a lot of people have is like they feel like the CV needs to follow a more chronological timeline, which, yeah, I think it's true because also a lot of recruiters just assume like, you're listing things from most recent to least recent, like what happened in 2026, what you did in 2025, and like years before and that. And because this person did like quite a few different things, because they were pursuing like their degrees, I think, yeah. 2020 from 2023 onwards, they basically like started a bachelor's and master's program. Um, so maybe that's why they didn't like and then maybe they just didn't have like product management, full-time product management work experiences since then, because they had to like focus on their studies. So I can imagine like why they're, but okay, let's look at a job description first and come back to how we can improve this. But yeah, I agree with this LinkedIn person. I like to recommend candidates summarize this. Yeah, summarize their section. um I've not seen a lot of section summaries when I was reviewing CVs myself, but yeah, it could work in some cases, especially for people who don't have a conventional career history. And a lot of people who work in tech are like this, like you've done something else and you've done other things. Like I've also had very unconventional career histories. And it's a, like, if you want to really like show a bit more of like, this is why I did this before and now I want to do this, especially to show maybe like your unique motivation for this new role you're pursuing. Yes, I think like it could help to summarize the sections. So I agree. Great comment. All right. So let's take a look at one of the positions they submitted. So I just want to show that they submitted like 3 job descriptions. Let's take a look at the first one. Reason why I want to show this here is also like, from here, I can already tell the lead product manager role is not going to be a good fit because lead indicates like quite a level of seniority usually. So within tech companies, the seniority structure goes junior or associate on a similar level, like intern, obviously intern, junior, associate, all quite like junior level positions. Then mid-level. If a job is mid-level, it probably will not say mid-level in the job title. It'll just say product manager. Mid-level, and then senior, and then lead. So for somebody to be a lead, I think for somebody to be a senior, really usually it's like approximately 5 years of experience for somebody to be a senior at a tech company. If it's an early stage startup, there's also title inflation, in which case you could be ahead of within 5 years. And I've seen that as well. So that could be the case. But typically, if they're hiring a lead, yeah, really we're looking for somebody with like maybe 6-7 years of professional experience. It depends. So yeah, I think lead would not be a good fit. So I would really advise this person against applying for this role, especially because it's Get Your Guide. Again, one of the biggest tech companies in Berlin. Get Your Guide is like also just usually the consumer facing companies are much more competitive because people are more likely to know about these brands because they've like used them, they've like used their service, used their product. So they're even more competitive than B2B companies. So yeah, I would just like skip this entirely. But maybe go back to Get Your Guide and take a look if they have mid-level positions or senior positions, maybe. But I think mid-level maybe because yeah, I think the senior one will be competitive. Let's take a look at this one then. Product manager, here we go, team. So product manager, here technologies, here we go, team. About the job, I hope you can see because I can't really like zoom in right now. What's the role? Team, blah blah. So if people know about here technologies, they do like, I think, location technologies. They have mobile web applications, cross-functional team, 20 engineers, design, product expertise. Product manager. Okay, so I think for product already, maybe good to know that they are working on mobile and web applications. Consumer facing, where did I say? Cross-functional teams, product navigation, global audience. Yeah, intuitive and impactful navigation experience. Okay, yeah, mobile. Here we go, mobile app for mobile and web. Okay, I'm assuming it's both like mobile app and web app. Because how do you do mobile app for web? I don't understand. Anyways. Yes, consumer applications. This is important to highlight because they're product managers that work on like internal tools or maybe B2B products. So this is more B2C. Responsibilities, lead strategy, consumer app products, lead strategy for consumer app products, overall business goals, defining, maintaining compelling user value proposition, remain competitive in the market. Sorry, just hit the mic again. Coordinating marketing efforts, product awareness, grow user base, owning evolving product roadmap in line with market needs, internal alignment, collaborating closely with design, engineering, QA, internal. Yeah, okay, this is quite standard, but maybe good to. I'm a bit confused. Consumer app, like, do they mean that this person will mainly work on a mobile app or mobile app and web app? Like, maybe I'm guessing maybe it's more mobile, and because this is like a team of 20 engineers, like that's a huge amount for one product manager. So maybe there's like other product managers for the web products. I don't know. Just my guess. Okay, requirements. So what did we learn? We look at the first 3 to 4 requirements. Those are going to be the more important ones to focus on at the application stage for when you're updating your CV. Bachelor's, master's, product like how many product management bachelors are there? My question, like, I find this like degree requirements so annoying because, like, okay, here's another thing that's like a bit of an insider secret. Not really a secret, but really like it's a bit like shocking. So a lot of job descriptions are really poorly written because like us people who work in talent acquisition, we're not necessarily like experts in all of the fields we hire for, and sometimes some people are. But when you're not like an expert in the field you hire for, when you're writing a job description, like you might just have to rely on some external information. And like what I've seen is a lot of job descriptions are copy paste, and that's really awful. Like I actually worked with somebody where um this was my manager, and like at the time working for like decent sized startup, let's say, that's been in the market for like 10 years. And we're hiring a new I don't remember what position it was, but like creating a new job description. And my manager just directly went onto like the Uber website and the Netflix website and pull out like one job ad from Uber's careers page and like copy pasted it and then started like editing it on top to make it our job description, which like to me just didn't make sense because Uber was such a huge international company that had like very different products from the product that we were offering. And we were maybe like, I don't know, yeah, small. Let's like compared to Uber, we're really small. And it's not like we're going to offer Uber salary, so like it's just a completely different context. And so this results in a lot of requirements really not making sense in the context. And it becomes very difficult when like applicants are trying to, or like job seekers are trying to work with those requirements. So like for example, bachelor or master's degree in product management, like if there are these programs there, then they're very, very new. Like how many product management bachelors are there around the world? Like really want to know. So yeah, I think this is like, but usually the good news is if you work in tech, unless you work in something that requires a lot of academic knowledge, like I don't know, machine learning, for example, AI, there maybe you require like it makes sense to have a degree requirement over there because it's really like a very specific field. But like for a product manager, really you can come from any background, in my opinion, like in terms of fields of studies. Okay, anyways, next one, several years of experience managing mobile consumer apps as a product manager. Yes, okay, mobile apps. Yes, as I suspected earlier, this role focuses on mobile apps. It's quite different because managing a web product as a product manager and managing consumer apps is quite different. Like the platform may have specific like needs that you need to consider. Like release cycles can be quite different. A lot of like unique aspects. Strong understanding consumer navigation app ecosystem. Strong understanding of the consumer navigation app ecosystem. So here I'm thinking, how many consumer navigation apps are there? Maybe the biggest ones around the world. I don't know. Like maybe there are somewhere around 10 biggest consumer navigation apps, like Google Maps. What's this other one called? Like Waze or whatever. Like, and then in China we have like at least two. What else? Apple Maps, that's 5. I don't know. In other markets, there may be more specific ones, but really, there's not a lot of these. So I have a feeling that this company is gonna really want to look for candidates that have worked in those app companies, like Uber. Yeah, Uber. Sorry. Yeah, maybe a few of these like ride-hailing apps, like maybe Uber. Maybe then in Germany that will be Free Now. What else? Which other companies? I don't know. So yeah, I think like if you haven't already worked in navigation apps, consumer navigation apps, this role will be a bit challenging. It'd be so funny if the Here Technologies team hiring for product people are watching the stream and they're like, what is she talking about? But really, like, yeah, I strongly suspect they'll end up offering a candidate. Maybe they'll interview a variety of candidates, but I strongly suspect they'll end up offering a candidate that has had this experience. Because the job market is so competitive, like I'm sure there will be somebody who has worked on this applying to their company. Okay, next one, experience related to key company domains such as personal navigation. Okay, once again, see, like they really want industry experience. Once again, they mentioned something along the lines of like, you have to have worked in that kind of market or area. Key company domains, personal navigation, micro mobility. Okay, yeah. This is giving me more ideas because maybe somebody worked at like, I don't know, one of those scooter companies. What were they called? Like, what are those scooter companies? Lime Bike? Or yeah, Lime Bikes. I've not used scooters in ages, but yeah, those scooter companies, and there's at least like a few in Europe. Automotive software, yeah. So maybe it could also be that if you previously worked at like, I don't know, Mercedes-Benz. You know, in Germany we have like Mercedes-Benz. Maybe if you worked on the software teams of Mercedes-Benz, maybe that could also be a good fit. Map data, yeah, don't know which other company. Maybe Strava, something like Strava, consumer app and uses map data. Yeah. Passion for automobiles, both EV and ICE. What kind of automobiles? ICE. Intercity Express train? I don't know. Passion for automobiles, both EV and ICE is reflected in your work or hobbies. Yeah, if you're a car fan, like this is so funny. Like if you're a car nerd, if you're a car fan, if you're a car head, this is a sign to put a hobby section and to like really highlight it. I have so many questions. What about like what are those like micro small tiny hot wheels? What are they called? Like those what about that? I have questions. Um yeah. And like how I don't know, like how like what if let's say you never worked in those companies, but you're so into cars? Like how into cars do you have to be for that hobby to be able to like help you get a job? Yeah, I have so many questions. But like basically up until this point, I am very certain that they're going to want to only offer candidates who have worked in those companies and those kind of products. So I don't think our CV owner here used to work in those companies, but let me go back and double check in a bit. Expertise in interpreting, leveraging app KPIs and analytics to drive decisions. To drive decisions. Yeah. Okay, app KPIs, as long as you worked on consumer apps, you've probably covered some of these KPIs. So yeah, good to mention on the CV also. Ability to navigate complex organizational structures. This is a sign for big companies. I think they're looking for bigger companies. Actually, how many people work at Here Technologies? Let me look up. Technologies. Size. Number of employees, 9,000 as of 2019, according to Wikipedia. Okay, yeah, huge company. So yeah, maybe they want people who have worked at larger companies. And to be honest, I can already imagine like if I were to be one of the people on the recruiting team for this role, we probably already would have like a list of ideal profiles and the companies that they come from. And it's also common knowledge that companies like to hire from competitors because these people already come with like very important industry insights and already know the field, know the area, know the market, know the consumers. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they end up hiring somebody already from either a direct competitor, an indirect competitor, one of these apps that worked on like maps, or like a car, like an automobile company. Yeah, the rest doesn't matter. So I think, yeah, here the challenge is a little bit more difficult. They're looking for relevant industry experience. So I would say, let's see, digital banking and ad tech. That's the industries that our CV owner used to work for. So yeah, I think it's going to be tricky. To be honest, if I were on the hiring team, if I were a TA hiring for this Here Technologies role, I would reject right away. So unfortunately, this wouldn't be a good fit really because of this industry emphasis. And I can imagine because like, you know, map and navigation technologies, they're quite specific. So maybe, yeah. Let's maybe take a look at another job then, because now I feel bad. Okay, now let's look at this mobile banking app instead. This is another job description that this person sent in. I think this one will be much more relevant because we already know that our candidate worked in banking. So Neugub Studios, I don't know if people know about this company. I think this is like a digital hub or an innovation hub or like the software branch of one of the big banks here in Germany. I think I also knew people who used to work there. So let's take a look. Mobile banking app. So yes, once again, we need mobile app experience and banking for sure. Like usually like banks, yeah, banks and fintech count as one of these other industries that are always looking for like very industry specific experience because like there's so many things. There's like so much compliance, there's so much like data protection and all these like very accuracy driven things to consider. Okay, product manager, integral to agile international mobile banking app team. Commerzbank. Okay, yes, Commerzbank is the bank behind Neugub. Digital finance services, banking app, 2 million users. Usually, if you have a company with a consumer app that has like over 1 million users, or like at a stage where they're so large in scale in terms of their user base, then typically they also look for that kind of scale in candidates as well. So this will be important to mention. What you can do for us. Excuse me. Responsible for your own value stream. Define roadmap, strategy, high quality feature roadmap, milestone, balance, blah, blah, blah. Data-driven products, analytics, UX research, design. Yeah, okay. This is quite standard besides the fintech context. Like everything else is very standard for typical software product manager role. What you should bring to the table, 3 to 5 year experience. I think our candidate probably checks this. Agile product management, mobile app development experience is a bonus, but not a must-have. Okay, cool. But to be honest, like I imagine they'll probably still end up offering somebody with mobile app experience because they will get candidates who have done mobile apps. You have knowledge and understanding of techniques, modern, yeah, okay. Experience making informed decisions, KPI, team player. Not very good job description, really. Like, it's not giving us anything to work with because these organizational things, it's not like I just say, oh, I have strong personal responsibility and they're gonna like interview me. Like, it's not something we can easily assess at the interview at the CV stage. So German and English fluently. Yes, I think this, like, I understand this from the company operations point of view because typically if you look at a consumer app that is targeting a specific country, Like even though before they said like international, but Commerzbank mainly operates in Germany or German speaking regions. And if your users are mostly only German speaking or speaking a specific language, then it would make sense that in order to do user interviews, in order to understand truly like user sentiment, in order to understand like local specific requirements, then yeah, maybe. But I do know that a lot of people from different countries who come to work here in Berlin struggle with this requirement because it's not always true that like you need to speak German fluently, even if they stated on the job description as one of the requirements, is really not always true. Because as we know, a lot of Germans speak really good English and they can work in English to a much greater degree than a lot of us who have a B1 or B2 certificate. Maybe B2 is like better than B1, but so like I have a friend who used to like when she was looking for jobs years back, when she applied to this job that asked for like fluent German, like basically C1 level German and English. But she only had B1 level German, but she still applied. And she managed to actually get through all the way to the interview stage and she got the offer, she got the job. And when she started the job, she realized that everything had to be in English in the company because their key investors were in the UK. And so all internal company documents had to be in English anyways. So there's no point in like really asking for fluent German. It's oftentimes just so then the predominantly German team could feel comfortable, continue to conversate in German. So yeah, this requirement is also a bit, but like from a banking mobile app perspective, like if they're Commerzbank, yeah, then I can kind of understand this more. But yeah, like this is the reality. So let's look at the job description again. So first, like I will come back to the main issue that I mentioned with this CV is that the product management experiences show up like too late, and they're in the second half of this section. And there's a bit of a weird timeline here where first we mentioned 2015 to 2016 and then 2017, and then we go back to 2012 to 2015 again. So what I would do if I were this person, obviously you don't want to say, oh, I just never worked in product management since 2017 until now, right? Like you don't want to just straight up like work experience and then boom, like most recent thing is 2017. What I would do then instead is I would first maybe mention like as a first line of the key career highlights. Actually, we've got a comment here from Maheen. How to share a CV? Send your CV to hello@offerb.de. Hello@offerb.de. That's my email, and I'll be able to see your CV. Or you can send it to me on LinkedIn if we're already connected. If we're not, hello@offerb.de. Email me. Coming back to this, like what I would do is, yeah, here it says career break, full-time study. Okay, so this person is trying to highlight that they're currently still pursuing bachelor's and master's, but like I think it's really not a good signal to start with career break as like the most recent and relevant career experience that our readers are expecting to read. So I wouldn't say career break. I would straight up say like something like and we have to probably workshop the wording a little bit afterwards, but I would straight up say something like computer science, AI, software engineering, excuse me, computer science, AI, and software engineering, comma, like master's program, Germany, and then 2023 to present. Something like that. And then mention a bit more because like, yeah, as we said, ideally you should have 3 bullet points. So what are things that maybe you're learning about or doing or maybe even projects you're doing in your studies that you can mention that are relevant as like for a product manager. And I think another question that would come up is like, if I were hiring for a full-time position, I'm looking for a full-time employee. So then if I see that somebody's still doing their studies, I would question like, are you able to have this full-time commitment? And normally, like, I think companies like to hire people who have already completely finished their studies. So then they're sure that you can commit to this full-time. And I think like, obviously not in this case, but like sometimes hiring managers and hiring teams can have this bias that, oh, like you're still doing your studies, so you don't have enough experience. Obviously that's not true, but it is a bias that could come up in that decision making process. So not just mention a few courses, I would say, in this first experience, but really mention like maybe a few projects that you've done. Like, for example, like AI driven product development. Okay, what kind of projects? Like what products? Maybe because it's so easy then to build a product prototype, to build a functional like mobile fintech app. So why don't you just like showcase a couple of those, and maybe you can even like hyperlink like project name to the site where you're hosting the projects, where people can really like interact and see. This could help as well. And then I would not mention this founder. Like I would move this much further back. So maybe you could have two sections of the professional experiences. Like first, you say professional experiences, starting with computer science, AI, software engineering, MSc and BSc, Germany 2023 to present. And maybe it'll be good to know when you expect to finish, like, because as we mentioned, companies will be hesitant to hire somebody who's still doing their full-time studies because they need a full-time employee. How do you manage that? So maybe like say something like 20, because I think you said it here, right? Like 2027. Okay, 2027 is a bit not great because maybe they see this and they think you can only commit to something from 2027 onwards. So maybe I would say 2026. Yeah, or to present, I guess, and then comma remote or like part-time or something like that. Because you really need to signal to a company you can commit to full-time positions, and that's the important thing. So that first, the 3 bullet points we talked about, mention a couple of projects you worked on, what you studied, like what kind of courses, like really, I need more information here. And then I would do this like quality analyst role because I think you did some interesting things, but it's not clear like for what you're analyzing the quality and what you're coaching, like product and service operations. It sounds a bit like product support team or customer support team. I think that's fine. Like actually a lot of product managers that are really good at their job come from like customer support functions. So it's a pretty good, like pretty common career path. So, but like I think here I just don't understand, and it would be great if you could like really elaborate a bit. And as we mentioned before, 3 bullet points. Like you already mentioned some like key accomplishments here. Like I want to see a bit more. Like for example, what kind of software product were you helping with? What were some other like product related things you could mention? Like yeah, I think here it's a bit unclear. And then you mentioned the head of IT, the product manager at AdCash, and then the bank. Well, it's also a bit, I don't know. I kind of want the bank to show up first to show that you've done like banking apps, because it'll be very important. It'll be also one of the most important decision-making factors for the company, but it's also quite far back. So maybe do like, okay, you can also try 2 different versions. It doesn't have to be that you only have one version of your CV and then that's it, end of the discussion. Like you can have multiple different versions and you see which ones like perform better, right? If you're a product manager, that's A/B testing, right? Or experimenting, so that's good. So you could try like, for example, first do like MSc and then the banking product manager role, and then not do it chronologically, and then say have another section that's like further product experiences, something like that, and then you list the product manager role, the head of IT. And to be honest, like I think for the head of IT role, I would love to see you mention more like product related things. And I know that's a different role probably that you did, but like it's still quite adjacent. So what were things that maybe you've done that supported like new feature development or current feature maintenance? And if you ever mention any like for example, here you mentioned you worked on a banking platform, but what format? Like, is it what format? Is it a web app? Is it a mobile app? If it's a mobile app, really, really, you need to mention it. Here as well, like publisher platform. I think this is then advertisers. Yeah, this is B2B, so this is slightly less relevant, but yeah, if you did work on mobile apps, you need to mention. Or for example, I don't know what this next company business model was. If it had anything to do with banking, anything to do with mobile apps, like really make sure to mention it. Concentrix as well, like don't know much about them, but like did they have any banking, fintech, like mobile app related thingies? Then you could add a subheading and then just like elaborate. So yeah, I think it's a bit tricky. Like this profile is a bit tricky because it's a typical profile of a career switcher. With career switchers, like if you straight up want to go into these like big companies and these very competitive, like well-known brand names like Hero Technologies, Get Your Guide, and probably Commerce Bank as well, they will be very, very, very competitive. So it doesn't matter what kind of specific requirements they're after. They're only maybe looking for the top like people that worked at the top companies that did any navigation, whatever mobile app. They will be able to find those people, and still that diminishes your chances of like getting an interview. So I suggest early career people who didn't come from big names, or career switchers who are still like who don't yet have a super like strong profiles in terms of like how many years in a certain field or having worked for big brand names. Target small companies, small like under 1,000 people, or maybe like under 5,000 people. Like it really just depends on how well known the brand of the company is, and then you can roughly gauge like how competitive the pool will be. Okay, so quick 2-second water break. I'm gonna have to end the stream maybe in half an hour because I still have a few to review. Like people emailed me and took a lot longer than I thought getting through these first 3 CVs. And I saw somebody said, I sent a connection request. Can you please review my LinkedIn and CV? Okay, accepted, but you need to send me your CV and a few examples of jobs you'd like to apply to. So let me quickly just send some helpful links. I hope I can comment and you can all see it. So first I'm going to share the link of this LinkedIn post by Jonathan where he gave an example of his early career CV, and I just want you to like notice how there are 3 bullet points and how the bullet points are structured and what or the content you should mention like to make it come across as more competitive. So here's the LinkedIn post. I will also link the Substack post where I wrote about my job search experience, and I listed out my personal experience getting referrals, and I also have a referral template that you can use. So I'm going to post it in the chat. Getting referrals. So now let me just like quickly check my email for these new CVs that came in. If you have any general job search questions about like landing a job in tech, you can also ask. Like it doesn't have to just be CV related. It can be like other aspects as well. So Let me just fetch these. CVs. This person says, I'm looking for HR talent acquisition recruiter junior role specifically in the Netherlands. Yes, finally. Another field that I've also worked in. All right. Let me just double check if this person sent any links of jobs. No. Okay, so let's just look at the CV, but like caveat is it's best to talk about the profile like in the CV in the context of like a specific job description. Otherwise, you can see how the CV will perform differently based on different job requirements and so on. So I downloaded the file, but it seems like once I downloaded the file and uploaded to my Google Drive, the anonymization went away. So I'm gonna just share the CV preview in my email inbox. Hopefully no personal information is shown here. Let me bring this up. So talent acquisition person, education 2023, graduation dates, talent acquisition HR professional, full cycle recruitment, experienced talent acquisition specialist, volunteer, okay. Empower futures, recruitment operations, full cycle recruitment during job posting, talent sourcing, family care, leave. To be honest, if you say family care leave, you don't need to have another line that says career break. I think this is enough. Interim HR officer, performance management, lifecycle recruitment. Good. I think like very solid CV at first glance. Previous experiences seem to be in the Netherlands as well, and education in Amsterdam. So that works out. From graduation to today, 2.5 years, basically, like this person has been working in HR and talent acquisition. So to be honest, I don't see any major issues. So if we want to see whether this CV needs further improvement, ideally I can get a couple of job description examples and then we can talk. So feel free to like email me later on and then I can email you back some further comments after the stream ends. But maybe one thing, Empowered Futures, I don't know what this organization does. Maybe it'll be good to add a small subheading because I think again, like maybe if you worked in like similar organizations or companies and markets and industries, it would be good to know. So if you could just add a subheading briefly describing in one line, no more than one line, what kind of organization Empowered Futures is, and that would be good for like similar organizations that you apply to. But so far, I don't see any major concerns. Like very easy to read. Certain things are highlighted, like the keywords and so on. So yeah, it's just a matter of matching it up to assessing the fit of like specific positions. So that's one that we looked at. I've got another one. So somebody's saying, hi Annie, thanks for this. I don't have any specific positions I can share, but basically any backend engineering positions on LinkedIn should be a potential position depending on the stack, of course. Yes, not only depending on the stack, but as we mentioned, like also the size of the company matters quite a lot. The location of the company matters because, like, for example, a lot of people applying internationally and hoping that they get picked up to like get a visa and to like be able to work in that new country as well. Like that is also challenging. Or even if you like, for example, came from somewhere else to Germany and now, but you haven't worked in Germany yet, and now you're looking for your first job in Germany. Your previous companies might like not be known to the hiring companies, or maybe they don't know like, oh, actually you worked at a super like large, well-known, famous company. So job description really matters. Like I cannot emphasize, like it really matters. Like I can look at a CV and say, yes, like you did have some information and it's easy to read, but I can't say whether it'll land you interviews or not. You see what I mean? So yes, like to this person that sent me an email with this backend CV, like please send me a couple of job descriptions. Like it'll matter. um, so one second, let me just do the logistics of pulling it up. So let's open it up. All right, at this stage. Okay, so this CV. Okay, yeah, having seen the senior backend engineer title as the most recent. Yeah, okay, I see why you don't care too much about specific companies, because like senior backend and senior DevOps engineers and above are still quite like in demand. So yeah, like I think senior backend engineers were some of the hardest for me to source when I was like when working as a talent acquisition specialist. So I can see why you say like, okay, no specific job but any position. But to be honest, I don't know how the market is right now for senior backend and DevOps engineers that were typically quite like in demand before maybe 2023. So let me know how you feel the market is. Like, is it tough? Like, are you getting enough interviews? Because if you're getting enough interviews with companies and you're at like advanced stages with a few companies, then that means your CV is working. And that means you probably don't need to focus too much on tweaking it. Honestly, that's like my take. But let's take a look. Senior backend engineer. I really like this layout, by the way. Like the fact that you have two columns and the main column is like a little bit wider, and like information architecture is very clear, bullet points and so on. So partnering with leadership to architect and build a custom ERP system. Okay, automating warehouse inventory track. Okay, Vue.js. Software developer build a Slack-based internal assistant, summarize meeting transcripts. Okay, seems like a pretty different kind of company and product. Modernize internal workflows, migrating legacy scripts. Yeah. Develop Node.js, Next.js backend services for core product features, including live crypto pricing. Okay, interesting. Develop a chatbot analysis tool, give clients visibility in customer interaction patterns. Integrate an external messaging platform, WhatsApp, Facebook. Okay, chatbot system. Improve onboarding documentation for blah, blah, blah. Develop platform, help photographers, media companies resolve copyrights issues. Reducing case resolution time overseas. Yeah, that's a good number. Like, yeah, good achievement. That's measurable. Integrate third-party services, Stripe, SendGrid, support payment. BI analyst. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, without knowing what the job requires, it's hard to say whether this is like enough or not. But to be honest, like I think it's quite well the information is very well organized. And yeah, you mentioned like the product that you worked on, like what you actually developed, what your focus was, and which teams maybe you interacted with, like core product features, examples of core product. So yeah, depending on the job you're applying to, maybe the like company type will still matter, and maybe it'll still matter, like because some companies might say, oh, we want people who have specifically worked in this industry. So that could still be important, but to be honest, I think looks fine. You have a good skills section where you list out programming languages, frameworks like cloud services, infrastructure stuff, monitoring, tools like front end as well. So to be honest, yeah, I think it's fine. Let me know if you're getting interviews, because I would be surprised if you're not getting interviews, and then we can talk a bit further. And quick ad plug. To track your interviews and to know whether you need to tweak specific things you're doing in the job search process to get better feedback that are actually personalized and based on real recruiter insights, try out OfferBee. I built this myself, where I designed like every feature. I even like pseudo-coded what the feature logic should be and worked with my engineering colleague on this. So really keen to hear your thoughts. And I really hope that in this very difficult journey of like job searching, where you feel like you're constantly like outputting, like sending out applications and then never hearing back, and you never know how to improve or even what to focus on, I hope that OfferBee can give you the focus and feedback that you need in the journey. And on top of that, if you still have questions after using the software, you can always reach me at hello@offerbee.de. So let me just check, because I think I got one more CV. Somebody said this is their CV. 1 second, let me just get the version where we've anonymized everything. Stop sharing. And we bring this up. Let's see what else this person said. Forgot to include jobs I'm interested in. Trying to land an internship now in the field of data science, machine learning. Don't have a specific job in mind. Yeah. Okay. This person seems to be looking for jobs in Canada. Just so you know, I mainly only have like professional experience hiring in Europe and the UK, and hiring practices can differ quite a bit. Never hired in Canada, so maybe they have specific things that they take into consideration that I'm not aware of. So just want to like really caveat this. And like, for example, maybe big name universities and companies that I'm familiar with on top of my head are like mostly European companies, and maybe like, for example, you've had some of those like big brands on your CV that I'm not able to identify, but they get picked up by the hiring team. That could also be the case. So let's take a look. I'll share my screen. And let me bring it up. So aspiring machine learning engineer, like, to be honest, anytime when you feel like you're still like early in your career experience and you can't really, like, you want to put like aspiring or like junior, just remove that word. Like, because you've done, like, for example, you've done projects and you've like worked, you've studied in the field, like you are a machine learning engineer, and you don't need to, because it almost feels like you're like putting yourself down a little bit. Don't do that. Like, if you do get a job in machine learning engineering, then you are a machine learning engineer. So like, don't do this, take this out. But it's like very minor point. Computer science student, hands-on experience, NLP system, machine learning pipelines, classify models, neural networks, semantic search systems. Using fast API and Docker, area of expertise. Okay, keywords. This is probably going to be very helpful. Education. So one thing I noticed is like in Europe, we don't really care as much about like which universities you've gone to. And so typically this education section's at the end. But I noticed in North America, specifically in the US, and I don't know about Canada, but specifically in the US, it seems like it's quite important to like put education up top. Just mentioning that like in Europe, this doesn't have to be the case. And it's typically more important that you have your projects and work experiences. 2028. Okay, so you still have time. Projects. Job resume match. Okay. I see you've thought about this problem as well. Cool. Customer churn prediction. Okay, so even it seems like you've not worked a student job or like you've not done any internships in this like field. which is fine. But yeah, and I guess maybe like you could expect to have to send out quite a few applications in order to land a role. And I think this person sent a few job descriptions, so let's take a look. This first one is AI integration data engineering, summer internships at osokin.inc. Rapidly expanding medtech enterprise based in Canada, dedicated pioneering achievements, healthcare, okay. Looking for a sharp, curious, ambitious intern, join a team, help integrate AI in core. Not a passive research role, hands-on building AI power workflow, real business operations. Intelligent company dashboards and structured data systems. Maybe this is a little bit different from your field. I don't know. Let's see. Build and maintain key business dashboards powered by AI-driven data pipelines, development, optimize automation, LLMs, prompt engineering. Okay. Architect structured data schemas and ETL pipelines to clean, classify, and enrich raw databases. Compare AI models. Document model integration, API usage pattern, workflow architecture. Cross-functional. Excuse me. Must have hands-on experience with Claude, OpenAI, Copilot APIs. Okay, was that mentioned in the CV? And to be honest, like based on the owner of the CV, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but to be honest, based on reading the job description, it feels like they don't actually need somebody who's as experienced as you are, because it seems like it seems like they want someone who's more just like more with working with like Gen AI tools, and like some of the stuff they're saying, I feel like you can do those tasks without having a like software engineering bachelor's degree. Not a problem, because like you might be a little bit overqualified, which is fine. But in this case, they specifically mention hands-on experience with Cloud AI, OpenAI, Copilot APIs. So definitely need to make sure that shows up somewhere up top. Maybe just add it to the start of this area of expertise, or mention it instead in like the intro section, like mention it quite early on. And then come back to this experience with OpenClaw, similar automation workflow tools. Yeah, mention that as well. Do we have Claw here? No, I don't see OpenClaw. So yeah, those things need to be added. Ideally, like up top. So they see this like first and foremost. Python proficiency, pandas, and so on. NumPy. I think you have this already. Yeah, pandas, NumPy, blah, blah. This is good. Prompt engineering and LLM evaluation skills. Prompt engineering, I think I saw somewhere. Prompt engineering. But maybe put this in bold, so then it's easier for them to spot. Data science fund. LLM evaluation. Do we have an LLM evaluation? I don't know if I can find it. If it's not up top, then yeah, always make sure these like keywords show up earlier on. Data science fundamentals, cleaning, modeling, visualization. Visualization. I don't see this explicitly stated, but maybe you've done this anyways in your project. So yeah, just make sure it's like the keywords are mentioned, especially for these jobs that are a little bit more technical. The person who's the HR manager or the TA might not be as technical. So make sure that they can just get that information right away, because they will be doing some of this keyword matching. REST API is mentioned somewhere. Fast API. What's the difference? Yeah, this is not something that I am super familiar with, but yeah, if they mention those keywords, then just make sure the keywords show up in the CV. They also have some nice to have RAG architecture, vector databases. RAG. Yes, we have retrieval augmented generation. Yes. SQL data warehousing. MySQL. Yeah, MySQL, SQL. Yeah, okay, cool. BigQuery Snowflake. BigQuery Snowflake. I don't see that. If you have experience with BigQuery Snowflake, yeah, make sure to mention them. Power BI Looker Studio. Yeah, as you can see, I'm basically just doing like a more of a high level like keyword match. It could be really likely what the other person is doing as well. So yeah, I think it could like you could really integrate some of those keywords in here, and ideally they show up like first and foremost. You can put them either in area of expertise or mention them already in the like intro paragraph. And like for example, some of these keywords here, just put them in bold. Okay, so I really have to go because it's half an hour past my expected like end stream time, but I see that there's somebody else who has sent me their CV on LinkedIn, I believe. So I can come back to you after I've had dinner, and once I've reviewed it, I can give you some more comments. But if you do send your CV, please also send me the job descriptions, and you see how relevant it is for assessing whether the CV is a good fit. So please do send them. Last but not least, if people find this super helpful, I will keep doing streams. Typically, I'll do them on Sundays in the evenings. So if you're interested, really let me know how you felt about the session, maybe like what else you would like me to cover. And yeah, if you have not yet used OfferBee, please give it a try. Let me know what you think. I'm really building the OfferBee product from scratch. So yeah, like this is really a passion project of mine. Will be super keen. And do let me know how some of your job searches turn out. Are you getting interviews? Are you getting offers? And yeah, like let's stay in touch. Please do email me still at hello@offerp.de if you have more questions in the future about your job search. Really, the inbox is open. And yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Have a good rest of your day and talk soon.